I was just listening to the elders video. I just thought, just go ahead and do a video that I had in mind dealing with, white supremacy and, the ideology behind white supremacy and where that derived from. So first and foremost, we give all praises, all honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakaha Badash, and double honors unto the elders and apostles of GMS who do rule well, and peace and blessings unto the hopeful election. Let's start off verse. Start out with a verse, man. We always do. Let's do it. Iraq 41. Iraq 41 and 2. Let's start at verse 1. It's verse 2. It says, O death, acceptable is thy sentence unto the needy man, and say unto him whose strength faileth, that is now in the last age, and is vexed with all things, and to him that despaireth and have lost patience. It says, fear not the sentence of death. This is to the hopeful elect. Remember them that have been before thee, and that come after thee, the 2/3. For this is the sentence of the Lord over all flesh. It says, and why art thou against the pleasure of the Most High? It says, there is no inquisition in the grave, whether thou hast lived 10 or 100 or 1,000 years. Verse 5, the children of sinners are abominable children, they that are conversant and dwelling in the dwelling of the ungodly man, meaning, the 2/3 of our people who want to dwell with, the oppressors, with the devil, and, these people, man, over returning back to our Lord, right? The inheritance of sinners shall perish, man, and their posterity shall have a perpetual reproach, man. The children will complain of an ungodly father, because they shall be reproached for his sake, man. And that's essentially talking about you Edomites. You pretty much have taken the book and tried to change ordinances and change, everything around PSYOP, the people, into this agenda, this global world agenda that you have. But see, this is the Lord telling you, and you're in, your own people are going to be ashamed of you, your forefathers, the forefathers of the Edomite, their inheritance, this place known as America. They're watching their grand old America crumble. The Murphys is leaving. And then they're gonna have to wake up to the fact that they're the descendant of evildoers, man, of the ungodly. So they cursed forever, man. Because in the kingdom, they're gonna, their forefathers gonna come back too. Now, I wanted to get this, dealing with, their fathers, how they set themselves up. Let me start off with this article I was reading, man. I'm gonna try to go through it as quick as I can. I understand, the attention span, sir, of learning isn't like it used to be. So I try to be as effective as I can, man. This is on a site. I don't know which site it was at. I guess it's just a quick read article, and it's just showing, the different so-called black, which were swarthy, monarchs in the dark ages, and these people that you read about during the dark ages, that they existed, and they were, known to have swarthy skin, meaning melanated or, darker skin complexions than, what you would call so-called white, right? Which that derived from that white superiority thing, white and black. But anyways, this is you read the names of these certain people. The story of the man Martin Luther is described as a swarthy man of medium height, The different stories of these people. Henry III, the Holy Roman Emperor, due to his black swarthy complexion. He's also known as Enrique III, El Negro de Alemania. Henry the Black. William Robertson in the book states that the reign of Charles V. Mm. So all these different empires, and during these different empires, these people were known to have swarthy skin. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because you see in history they'll show you things, but they won't show you everything. So scholars tend to hide things within books as well. You know, why they do that, I don't know. With their own interpretations. So that's why you reading everything isn't necessarily doesn't necessarily make you smart, but understanding truth within what you're reading is what makes you intelligent, man. So I know you seen the dates there. Byzantine Empire, man was known as a Moor, right? These were dates. And King Charles, even if you go back as far as King Charles III or second, he was told to have swarthy skin. King Charles II, and that was during the Dark Ages. So, you know, Queen Charlotte was told to have swarthy skin, and all of those were during the Dark Ages. Why did I put that up? Because as this is going out, we might as well ask this: white supremacy is not. Now you understand AI doesn't give the whole truth either. This is why you have certain teachers, man. But anyways, white supremacy is not based on a single origin, but emerged from a combination of historical factors in the late medieval and early modern Europe. Its core ideology that white people are biologically and morally superior to other races, man. And where did this derive from, man? Well, I mean, if you go into the Spanish Inquisition, that's where it started with their ideologies, as you just said, man. And that was at the core of their ideology is their leopard skin. Them anybody that doesn't look like us, act like us, or think like us, we know we're better than. But now there's a shameful spewing on who they are as a people, man. The Lord is gradually throughout history set these devils up so they can take a good look at themselves, looking at themselves in the mirror from each side of the world, how wicked you both are. Whether you're Edomite here on the west or Edomite on the east, you still an Edomite. The same for all the other heathen, because you joined in with them. Anyways, it's about Edomites. Colonialism and slavery, obviously, you know, we know we don't have to keep going into that, but we're going to keep going into that. Those you understand. That's that needs no introduction, bro. But as far as the mindset of what we're at right now, and the people, mannerisms. The thing is, if you don't act like us, think like us, you can't be one of us. That's the same concept in American society. If you don't act like a certain, people of society, you don't think like a certain people, you're gonna get ostracized naturally, man. You're gonna get ostracized, but the goal is to be accepted by the Lord, right? Not to be accepted by the world. So when you put on that suffering, you understand those things. You learn to become everyone's favorite villain, but you also learn to move in perfect peace. They can't fucking touch you, but they can say whatever they want. They touch you, the Lord is gonna touch their ass, man. And they ain't gonna like it. Let me get this real quick too. Just to, bring light to what I'm saying as far as these devils go, man. Because they'll set up a system for you to literally for you to continue to fall like this, man. And then they'll make you to blame for it, right? It's Micah 3. This is Micah 3 and 1. And this is, we know it's talking about, the leaders of our people, but technically that falls on you Edomites. You control the narrative of the world, you know. But in a lot of in a lot of cases, you used our own people against us to keep us in this perpetual state of being blind, to the world that we live in, to the psyops, to all that other shit. But this is where it goes. It's Micah 3:1. It says, "I said, listen, you leaders of Israel. It says you are supposed to know right from wrong, and that's you devils as well. Any ruler that rules on the earth is supposed to, rule in righteousness, particularly us. But you just been set up as the wicked, so you're gonna be taken out of power." It says, "But you are the very ones who hate good and love evil. You skin my people alive and tear the flesh from their bones, man." And this is Jake was actually doing these things, man. He was eating their own people, following the cannibalists because the heathen were doing these things, you know. So these different practices, ideologies, and worships, and philosophies, in a way, yeah, they was doing these killing, the babies, giving them up for sacrifices. Those are actual things. But see, what this is modern. If you put that in a spiritual sense, you know, they're doing the same thing, man. You know, as far as what they feed our people mentally, the garbage that they allow these devils to, for a quick buck, you make it your way into this society, but fuck everybody else, fuck the nation. So pretty much you are helping them and keeping us in this downtrodden state, man. So that you can get your crumbs. Now every now and then, you have Jake come out and speak out against those things, but at the end of the day, you know, the chosen people are still starving out here. And at the end of the day, all you heathen and you devils are gonna pay for that shit. So then you beg the Lord for help in times of trouble, man. And this is what Jake gonna do. Jake is taking part into the everyday Jakes as well, man. They in these little secret councils too, believing in the philosophies of the serpent, man. They in the same spirit, man. He said, "Do you really expect him to answer after all the evil you have done? He won't even look at you." This is what the Lord says: "You false prophets are leading my people astray. You promise peace for those who give you food, but you declare war on those who refuse to feed you." And that's what you devils have. That's the mindset of you devils, man. Take from everybody else. Take. That's the mindset of a devil. Take from everybody else. You know, demand that they feed your ass. Demand that they pay tribute and tax to you. Demand they follow your laws. But the minute it's time for you to follow your own laws, the minute it's time for you to pay taxes, you don't have to. You're not governed by the same rules that we're governed by. You're not even governed by your own laws. So your own word is a farce, man. You're not a god. You're not gods. You're shitty ass, disgusting fucking people that the Lord is about to take out of power, man. It says, "Then you seers will be put to shame, and you fortune tellers will be disgraced, and you will cover up your faces because there is no answer from God." And you can see you trying to hide yourself behind these different policies, these different ideologies, man. But see, the Lord said, man, your seers, them trying to predict, using AI, using data and all this other shit, stealing, trying to number the children, DNA and blood and all that shit, man. But at the end of the day, you solidifying your judgment more and more and more. You don't care because you're a devil, but you're going to care in that day. Now, let's go back to this topic. It says using an ideology. I asked it, Chat GPT or whatever, the AI, you know, how making someone feel inferior has been used. Salakia has been used to pillage societies. Man, it says using an ideology of racial or cultural superiority to justify the exploitation of another society is a reoccurring pattern in history. It's a reoccurring pattern in history. The only time when we was in rulership was when King Solomon was in rulership, and there was perfect peace on all ends when he was in rulership. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. When the wicked are in authority, the people mourn. It says, particularly evident during the era of colonialism and colonizing powers used political, economic, and psychological tactics to create and enforce a sense of inferiority in the colonized population, man, that help justify the expropriation of resources, labor, and wealth, man. So pretty much they're justifying themselves in their pseudoscience, man. You know, justifying themselves in the sight of white supremacy, man. I wanted to read that before I got into this, man, because those unrighteous decrees coming out, man. Before we get that, let's get that, man. This is Isaiah 10 and 1. It says, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that right grievousness which they have prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, man, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. That widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless, man. And we all know throughout history, even going through the wilderness, the Lord said, spared the women and the children, right? Because you take the women, as we're learning, take the women, you take the children, you take the nation, you take the people, you know. And these are things that you have to consider, man, when in a modern era, right? So who's the main who pretty much gives birth to your nations? Women. But see what the Lord is gonna do, because there's been a lot of fraud and deceit, man. Remember, the Lord said, slay utterly old and young, men and women, and children this time. He wasn't, the Lord ain't playing with this one, you know? So I just want you, to say that, as well as, understand that these people have been used, and their children have been set up to continuously perpetuate this reoccurring theme of white supremacy or superiority, or treating our people like shit, pointing the finger at us, but not mentioning all the other secret left-handed agendas that went into, them, handing us the gun or handing us the drugs in our communities, or pretty much setting you up and then pulling back the hand like, I didn't do anything. I don't know what he's talking about, you know. But now these things are starting to come out, because now your fucking ass is getting put on blast on the world stage, and you can't take it. Oh well. So, what is white supremacy? White supremacy is not based on a single origin, but it emerged from the combination of historical factors in late medieval, early Europe, uh, early modern Europe. Pretty much you getting into your, they call it medieval because that's when we was ruling. Like they call it evil. Like she'll say everything black would be an evil, but really, it was during the time when they started to. This is really the time they started to conquer Europe, William the Conquerors and them people, right? Anyways, it says its core ideology that white people were biologically and morally superior to people of other races, man, was developed and codified over centuries to justify colonialism, slavery, and other hierarchies. Now, they're ironsmiths. So Edomites are not dumb. They're just, wicked. They're just children of the wicked, man. So they use their understanding of pretty much technology, alchemy, and these sort of different things to war their way into positions of power, man. It says before the concept of distinct biological races emerged, Europeans often defined differences based on religion, lineage, or region, and nobody was calling themselves Europe. It was Eurasia at this time, anyways. The condition of colonialism and slavery in America created incentive incentive to solidify these distinctions, man. So pretty much they created like we say, a pseudoscience, as it is, so to speak. You know, they convinced themselves of what they know to be as true, be the true absolute truth, but they hadn't even discovered the whole world yet. So we get into the doctrine of discovery, and them using slaves as political tools. Is reading right here. It says historians and socialists recognize the concept of race as is a social construct rather than a biological reality. So the reality is we're better than you in everything. You know, So-called black man has been proven to be more superior and better. We just constantly in a state of oppression and pretty much just in a state of oppression and beating down the state. Man, we can't have our own banks. We can't have our own sovereignty. We can't have our own lands, our own botanical gardens, as it so to speak, right? We can't have those things, right? Not in this world, because this world's created for the wicked, and they'll be damned if they let you have that shit in their world, right? Because then you'll start one up in them. Anyways, he says rather than a biological reality created to grant power and resources to those in charge, man. The 705s, the 1705, 705, the 1705 Virginia slave codes, for instance, legally separated white and black people, a tactic by aristocracy to prevent the unified uprising of both enslaved and poor white laborers, man. And that's what when you get into the eugenics program, them doing experiments on slaves and doing experiments on the whites. Yeah, them whites and poor whites was a part of those experiments too. You know, even certain ish people, they were a part of those experiments. So pretty much they wanted to show you that in these elites world, man, because the elite understand who they are, man. They understand that they are the devil that the Bible speaks of, man. Like they are children of the devil, and the Lord is figuring them out by way of the Spirit. He's already figured them out, and he's slaying, he's setting them up to all be taken in and be destroyed, man. Another key thing about eugenics you get into, understand is that Nazis had the same, you read it here, but when Nazis had the same ideology, man. Hitler had the same ideology, with how he viewed the world in general. But he at the end of the day, these are all birds of the same feather. They just are not flock. They weren't flocking together at this time. So things had to happen for them to be under that, the on that one accord or that one accord, man. And really, what we're seeing is that one accord is this one world government, man. You know, I mean, to bar blab that much. Let's get this real quick. Second Peter 2:1. It says, but there were false prophets also among the people, man. Even as there shall be false teachers among you, man. It says, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that brought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction, man, denying the Lord Yahweh Shah, man. It says, and many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil, Salakia, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of, man. So pretty much, that's us making our bodies a living sacrifice. While we're in this society, we are known as, we're gonna get fucked with, man. I'm just putting in layman's terms. You're gonna get fucked with in unimaginable ways when you're in this walk, but you also want to be taken care of. you know, because at the end of the day, the Lord, once the Lord is dealing with you, I mean, there's only so much these devils know they can do to you. And when you separate yourself from the world, you automatically become an enemy to the world, obviously, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. Now, we use the world as not abuse it because we are in flesh, right? But just understanding the ideology behind, these false prophets, these pastors, and these preachers, they're all set up to uh, pretty much clap their hands and uplift this Edomite in their system, so that they want a higher position in their system, man. Even if that means these Edomites want them to degrade themselves, man, and they're willing to do it for money, you know. I understand the Lord will take care of you, man. It says Second Peter 2 and 3, man. It says, and through covetousness they shall, it's like through covetousness shall they with feigned words make merchandise of you, whose judgment now of a long time lingered not, and their damnation slumbereth not, man. How they make merchandise of the people, man. They pretty much they've built up a system of corporate America where you paying into the system. It's a consumer based economy where you have to pay into the system in order to experience the system. You have to be able to buy in order to keep the system going, in order to even be able to experience food, or basic things, water, things that you're supposed to be able to get. In the law, I believe it says food falls from the ground is to be given to the off the tree or whatever, to be given to the poor, man. You know, so we have a world that's pretty much governed by people who are greedy, who are selfish, self-centered, have an evil agenda, and they've been figured out and they don't like it. But you're going to keep getting figured out, man, because you're not superior to the Lord's chosen people, man. And white supremacy was never supposed to be a thing. That's considered leprosy supremacy, and we don't, the Lord doesn't deal with leprosy. It's considered unclean. So there is no such thing as white supremacy. It's Edomite supremacy, where they wanted to get at, but they tried to hide themselves. Okay, it's for God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment, man. And see, these who are those angels, man? Casting, this is hell that we live in right now, man. Those are spirits, the spirits of these demonic evil uh, entities, man, that pretty much govern the earth that we live in, that we're walking on every day, you know. And see, at the end of the day, the Lord has a plan for you, man. Because what did they do? They all took that Balaam's, Barak. They all took Balaam's okey doke. Like, so these murmurers also, so I cut up.